Yes, there were 3 members of the train crew. There was the engineer, David Humiston, and then there were 2 spotters on the front of the locomotive whose job was to make sure the tracks were clear. Ralph Dawson and a guy named Robert Mayfield, both Vietnam vets. So there were 3 crew members. The train was speeding 17 miles an hour. The speed limit was 5 miles an hour. They never attempted to brake. I was trying to bolt to the right at the last second, really not thinking the train was going to really do this. And I got caught and didn't make it. The other 2 vets that were with me on front of the train, one dove to the left and the other one dove straight up and grabbed the railing above the cowcatcher, looking at the 2 spotters who were standing there with their hands on the same railing. And then he jumped off, and he and my wife at the time, Holly, were the first persons to, because the train didn't stop. They were the first persons to my body. So I was in the hospital for 4 weeks. I had a big brain skull fracture. I lost my entire right frontal lobe, actually, and the doctors explained how the left lobe can make up the functions over a period of time, and the right lobe, it was all new to me, you know. So right away, the train crew sued me for causing them post-traumatic stress disorder. I know, it was a very bizarre, the Newsweek wrote it up as one of the most bizarre lawsuits ever. And then I sued the Navy for violating all their regulations. And by the way, when I was in the military, my primary function was an installation security officer. In Vietnam, I was basically in charge of security of 2 air bases at different times. And so in my mind, you know, a train carrying weapons would never do anything that would threaten the possibility of that train blowing up with all those explosives. You would never run the train over anything. A car, a cow, a drunk. I mean, it was just inconceivable, totally irresponsible. So we were in court for 3 years. The Navy report, which acknowledged the train was speeding 3 times the speed limit, that they never braked, they could see us for 650 feet, did recommend that the commander of the base and 3 levels of in the chains of command down to the train crew themselves all be disciplined and removed from office, removed from their jobs. But none of that happened. I was charged with trespassing, and they dropped that finally. But in federal court for 3 years, we finally agreed to a settlement rather than go to trial. And while I was in depositions, getting ready for the trial, I was sitting at the same table with the 3 train crew members for 40 hours, 5 8-hour days. The very first day, has anybody here been in depositions? I mean, you really get grilled. My lawyer's sitting next to me, and his knee is tapping my knee when he thinks I'm saying too much. You're supposed to say yes or no and not get too riled up and start explaining yourself, because that's what they want you to do. We all had to take bathroom breaks at the same time during the depositions. We were in the 10th floor of the Federal Building in San Francisco. So we only had 5-minute breaks every hour. And so we all went to the bathroom together. And that is when I would have small talk with the train crew. And it's like, oh, how you doing? And I'm there with my prosthetic legs, and the engineer, Humiston, was also a vet, but he was a Vietnam era vet, not a Vietnam vet. But the other two were in combat in Vietnam. And so we did ask each other where we were in Vietnam. That was part of the small talk. But that was the extent of my interaction with the train crew. The reason we settled was because we did a mock jury trial, getting ready for the trial. There's a national jury project that helps set up mock trials, and they panel a jury from the jury pool where the trial's going to be, and pay them. And so you have somebody serving as a judge, you have somebody serving as my lawyers, and somebody serving as the government lawyer. And I'm watching the whole thing in the side room on a video camera for 4 days. And the jury rendered their verdict that the Navy intentionally tried to kill us. And under the law, you cannot sue the United States government for the crimes of its employees. You can only sue for negligence. It's called the Federal Tort Claims Act. And so the case was so strong, we would lose. Because if we proved that the government had intent to harm us, the government's not liable. So the judge would rule that a directed verdict against us. So when I realized that, I kind of went into depression really for about a month. Because it would have been a moral victory to have that happen in court, but my lawyers already were $500,000 in debt in this case. We had dealt with 350 motions filed by the U.S. Attorney in San Francisco and the 20 private lawyers working with the U.S. Attorney representing those 3 train crew members. And they just filed motions and motions and motions, and you have to respond to every motion, or their motion will prevail. So it was a nightmare. But the engineer has subsequently died of a heart attack, and I don't know what happened to the other 2 train crew members. Every once in a while I Google their names, thinking I might find an address and write them a letter, but I haven't found them yet on Google. So